What's up, guys? Today we got the S9 Plus versus the S22 Ultra here. Let's go ahead and see if the S22 Ultra is going to be worth the upgrade for you guys. And also, I noticed a lot of you guys were saying you got pretty decent trade-in value with this phone as well too, so that could be another pro. But let's go ahead and get into the cost. So S9 Plus, honestly, going for around, maybe 200 bucks, maybe even cheaper. I'll put that link down below. S22 Ultra, $1,200 for the base model, which we have here. So let's go ahead and get into it. As we can see, a big hardware difference now. So you can see that the look of the phone has dramatically changed from the S9 Plus to the S22 Ultra. You can see they do the camera module completely different now. The S9 Plus still feels very premium. They're both glass and metal phones. They're both IP68 dust and water resistant. The S22 Ultra is definitely just a much bigger phone here, and it's also much heavier, thicker as well too. So that's definitely something that has changed. And you can see the S9 Plus has the physical fingerprint scanner on the back. The S22 Ultra has an in-display fingerprint sensor now. They both have stereo speakers, which we will get into as well too. Now, one of the things you'll notice with the hardware is that the S series now is basically a Note, and you have the built-in stylus on here as well too. So for people who are fans of the stylus, this is going to be a great upgrade. If you're somebody that has the S9 Plus and you really wanted a Galaxy Note, well, this is going to be great because now that you have the stylus built in. So that is really awesome as well too. So that's pretty much the big differences with the hardware. Now, the S9 Plus does have a headphone jack at the bottom. The S22 Ultra does not. So if you're a big fan of the headphone jack, you're definitely going to miss that. Now let's go ahead and talk about the displays here. So the S22 Ultra does have a 6.8-inch display. It's a 1440p display, 120 Hz HDR10 plus, 1750 nits peak brightness. And then the S9 Plus has a 6.2-inch display, so much smaller display here. It's a Super AMOLED HDR10. It's also 1440p, 529 for the PPI. So obviously you can see what the display differences is the design. You have a more boxy type of display on the S22 Ultra. You have the punch hole now on here. The S9 Plus does not have any type of punch hole, but it does have much thicker bezels as well too. As far as the just overall image quality, I can't talk today. They actually look the exact same, guys. The S9 Plus is extremely sharp. Samsung definitely made displays that were very much ahead of its time as far as like display resolution and just the colors. They actually look identical in terms of resolution and just overall quality to the naked eye. Now, of course, the S22 Ultra does have that HDR10 plus, but honestly, if you're just a casual user, you'll definitely still like the S9 Plus display. It's still really nice. Now, something that I am noticing, the S22 Ultra is definitely a brighter display at max brightness, and this phone even gets brighter outdoors. It has a little setting that you can turn on to get this thing to get up to its peak brightness. So this is going to be a much brighter display. And honestly, the main thing you'll probably notice with the display is really the 120 Hz. It should pop out to you immediately if you decide to upgrade. That's like the main thing you'll notice when you're scrolling and stuff like that. You would just notice that immediately. The S22 Ultra just feels much smoother. But other than that, I think it's a pretty decent display upgrade. You can need a bigger display, brighter, more bezel-less experience. So I think it's a pretty decent upgrade for the display quality. All right, so this is very important. Let's talk about software. So the S22 Ultra is running Android 12 on top of One UI 4. This phone will actually get 4 years of major OS updates and about 5 years, I believe, of security patches. The S9 Plus officially was done with its updates with Android 10 One UI 2.5. So of course you can like boot ROMs onto it and stuff, but for normal people, they're not going to do that, of course. So this phone is still getting security patches. So I think I just recently got a security patch with this phone. So Samsung is still updating this phone as far as security patches, but you're not getting any major OS updates. So basically that's also another reason why you might want to consider upgrading. Now, as far as the specs go, so we have the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 with the Adreno 730 GPU on the S22 Ultra. It has no SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage, and 8 gigs of RAM. The S9 Plus has the Snapdragon 845 chip, Adreno 630. This phone does have micro SD card support. The S22 Ultra does not, so technically you can get more storage on the base model than you can on this one. You also have 64 gigs of internal storage and 4 gigs of RAM. So basically one of the two main things you're going to be missing is SD card support and the headphone jack. Now as far as speed, maybe we'll notice a speed difference here. General smoothness is still pretty smooth on both of these devices here, but let's go ahead and just open some things to get a comparison. That was pretty much on par. Scrolling still very smooth on both. Let's go ahead and try Instagram. You can see S22 Ultra just a little bit, actually pretty fast, noticeably fast. Now, is it that much faster in real life? You probably won't notice the difference. Let's go ahead and open up like a game. So you should see like a speed difference here for sure. Yeah, it's pretty much like gets in there instant. You guys see that? So it's not that the S9 Plus is slow, it's just that you're seeing that, you know, this is a slightly older phone, so this one is definitely gonna feel like way snappier. But for lighter applications, as we saw, you saw YouTube basically tied itself right there. But for like little video games and stuff like that, you'll definitely like kind of feel the difference there, like Temple Run. So really not that bad for the S9 Plus. Now, where you will notice the difference is with your gaming settings. So let's go ahead and hop into PUBG. All right, so when we get into PUBG, if you go to settings here, you can see that we're on HDR, Extreme. We can go up to Ultra HD on the S22 Ultra. Now, the S9 Plus, we can go up to Extreme, but as you can see, Ultra HD is not going to give us the extreme settings, and we don't have an option for Ultra HD on this phone. Now, the S9 Plus plays games pretty well. Again, also considering its price point, everything still runs pretty smoothly on this phone, so I don't really have issues with performance. But if you're somebody that's gaming, you want the highest FPS, and this is just going to play at a much smoother frame rate. So that's definitely something to take into consideration if you're a gamer. If you're not a gamer, then it doesn't really matter because the S9 Plus performance wise is still going to be pretty good. Both of these phones have stereo speakers. We're at max volume. Let's go ahead and hear them side by side. They both sound really good, but it does sound like the S9 Plus has a little bit more bass in it. As far as loudness, yeah, they kind of sound extremely similar, but the S9 Plus does have a little bit more bass in it. Samsung really decided to like not go super bass heavy with the speakers on this one, which I'm not a huge fan of. Let's go ahead and talk about the additional features here. Software wise, you're not really missing out on anything unless, like I said, you use the S Pen. That's going to be your biggest upgrade. You have Samsung desktop support on here, NFC on both, secure folders on both. Pretty much all of the same things except for the reverse wireless charging. You do not have that on the S9 Plus, but pretty much everything else is going to be on here as far as the software experience goes. Also, let's go ahead and talk about the fingerprint scanner. So I personally like the in-display fingerprint scanner. I think it feels more modern, and I just like having my fingerprint scanner on the display because I'm always have my phones face down like this. These ones that you kind of have to pick up and like that. Now the cool thing is that the S9 Plus has really good face unlock and does have like an iris scanner and stuff like that. They both have face unlock as well too, so it really comes down to personal preference, but I think if you're coming from a physical one, you will easily find the in-display one to be perfectly fine. All right, let's talk about the biggest upgrade here. It's really going to be the camera. So you have a 108 megapixel lens on the S22 Ultra, 10 megapixel periscope telephoto, 10 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide. It has a macro mode, shoots in 8K 24, and then a 40 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60. You also have better night time photography on the S22 Ultra, and then you have the crazy 100 times zoom. This thing takes excellent shots at even 30 times. So it's just a really beefy camera upgrade, especially coming from the S9 Plus. You take a lot of photos, you really enjoy this phone. Now the S9 Plus, it actually still has a really good camera setup. I was taking some pictures and I was pretty impressed. So you do have a dual camera setup. It is a 12 megapixel standard and then a 12 megapixel telephoto, so no ultra wide. And then you have 4K 60 and then an 8 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 1440p. Let's look at some of those side-by-side stills and video, and be sure to let me know, can you guys spot the difference? Is the upgrade significant? S9 Plus. S22 Ultra. Alright, so lastly, let's talk about battery life. This is also another area where you're getting a very good upgrade. So the S22 Ultra has a bigger 5,000 milliamp battery with 45 watt charging with wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. You have on the S9 Plus a 3,500 milliamp battery on here, and then you have 15 watt chargers. So this one charges significantly slower than the S22 Ultra for sure. You also have wireless charging on the S9 Plus. So overall, the battery experience is definitely going to be a big upgrade. That's probably the second biggest upgrade for you if you're an S9 Plus user. The cameras, and then the battery life, and then the stylus if you're into using the stylus. So I would say overall, it's a pretty good upgrade, guys. You get a very, it's an upgrade in almost every regard. It just comes down to, are you going to use the features in the S22 Ultra? What do you need? Because I think I can't really say like, oh, this is not worth an upgrade. It's a pretty good upgrade. Now, do you have to upgrade to the S22 Ultra? You go for the S22, the S22 Plus if this is too expensive. But it's also a downgrade in some areas with the headphone jack and the lack of SD card support. So you kind of have to make your decision based on that. Be sure to let me know, what do you guys think? I want to know you guys' thoughts, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.